Inside Out's pretty funny, man. Yeah, it's a good movie. The second one was good too.
Property appraisal is set up in their report that they received from us, and it gets added as square footage, livable space. What is she actually turning it into? As long as it's not a bedroom, bedrooms tend to, if she's on septic, it changes things. They're not easy. Yeah.
We finished replacing the floor and we realized her house is actually several hundred square feet bigger than she bought it as.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure how to fix that either.
probably doesn't.
Probably appraisal and get a measure, put this one out, measure it. We just replaced all, we're going to replace the whole floor.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that clock's a little slow.
That's correct.
Okay.
Christy attempted to fix it at our last meeting.
She's been evicted? Just kidding.
No.
I didn't hear properly.
Yeah, and I just don't think that clock has ever been accurate.
Oh, she fixed it, yeah.
Yeah. Tried to.
Okay, well, we have a quorum, so we're. are
We're ready whenever you are, sir.
Make it official here. Okay. This meeting is called to order of the Escambia County Competency Board, January 8th, 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. 9 o'clock in the morning. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum this morning?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, with 8 members present, we do.
Good deal. And do we have proof of publication for this meeting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, it was published on January 2nd, 2025 in the Pensacola News Journal.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept approval of the minutes from the last meeting in December?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Ms. Mary?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. Our public forum session. Do we have anybody signed up for?
I didn't receive any speaker request forms, so unless you want to just poll the audience and make sure.
If anybody is here today would like to speak in the public forum, speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay, I don't see anybody.
Hi.
Okay, your secretary report, Madam Secretary.
Happy New Year,
Thank you.
and I have nothing else for the board at this time.
Okay. Contractor applications.
Good morning, board members. Our first applicant today is Mr. Brian Ward. Mr. Ward, if you will please come to the podium, state your name and address, please, for the record.
Brian Ward, 7941 Susanna Lane Drive, Milton, Florida, 32570.
Board members, Mr. Ward appears before you today requesting to qualify an additional entity. Currently, his business is EB Quality Construction LLC, and he desires to qualify M&V All Type Construction LLC.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ward, you want anything to tell us?
What would you like to know? Open book.
Well, I'll just open some discussion. I remember your name and the face and the 20, not guys, not 20, but those guys you brought in here to get licensed that time.
Right.
And so you're opening up a new company? Is that what you're doing?
Well, no, not technically. I'm qualified in an additional entity. So I have Quality Roofing, which is separate from all of this, qualified under our state certified license. I've got EB Quality. I see an opportunity within the industry, particularly subcontracting space inside of our industry, for a lot of improvement, increased compliance, and I just see an opportunity there. So I qualified one entity. I want to qualify an additional entity, and sort of bring them under the umbrella of my primary company, Quality Roofing, to subcontract for us inside of that space. And I think it's an opportunity for them to learn and grow under an organization that's trying to do things the right way. You know, if in time they've done well and maybe they have an opportunity to test for themselves, but in the meantime, it gives me an opportunity to give them direct oversight and making sure they're compliant and doing things the right way until such time they decide to test for themselves.
Is there a reason why you don't just keep them under your current company if they're subcontractors?
Well, there's a litany of reasons, really, but these are standalone companies. You know, they're trying to do their own thing, build their own organization, and they just need some guidance. Is really what they need. And I think it starts with compliance and licensing, right? So they're not really interested in becoming employees. They already have their own business, right? But they're non-compliant as it is, or as it currently stands with regard to licensing. So this checks that box for them, but also, again, brings them under the umbrella of somebody who's trying to do things the right way, helping them get compliant so that they can attempt to grow an organization and you know, live out the American dream. So trying to help them do that and go about it the right way.
So you also taking the financial responsibility of that company?
I am.
Okay, it's just like when we open multiple companies, it's concerning to me, I'm on the board, that, you know, a lot of times when we have a contractor or a roofer opening a multiple companies, you know, it's about one company's about to fall, so they've got another company and another company ready.
No,
How can you
nothing like
assure
that.
us that that's not the case here?
Well, any way you'd like me to assure you of that. Like I said, it's really about those guys. I'm not trying to play the hidden ball game or anything like that. I'm not sure what I can tell you to affirm that outside of my testimony. That's not the case.
How many current permits are issued to your companies right now? Do we know?
Great question. It's about 2,000 a year, probably 1,200 or so in the
No,
Escambia
not,
County.
I'm like, how many open permits do you have currently right now? On job that you're doing between your companies?
Maybe 20.
So-
Am I asking the right
So-
question?
So I think what you're asking is how many open permits does Mr. Ward have under all licenses
Correct.
currently? I could pull that up for you if you'd like. It's at the discretion of the board.
If you would, I'd like to look at it.
But Jen, while you're doing that, I guess my concern is historically when this situation happens, there's not enough hand-holding to that subcontractor. And then therefore the subcontractor gets in trouble, and then the person that's the ultimate license holder is standing here again, when it comes to issues, and then it's not, well, it's not my fault, the subcontractor did the work.
Understandable. Yeah. So what's great about this arrangement is that they're only going to be performing subcontracting work for me in my primary organization, Quality Roofing. So as the license holder, I'm the only one that can sign off on any permit. So you know, they would not be able to permit anything outside of what I agreed to permit for them or on behalf of that organization. So I feel like I have direct control and oversight over everything that they're doing, and it's primarily under the umbrella of Quality Roofing and inside that organization. So obviously we have direct oversight and you know, able to make sure that they're not doing anything sideways. Ultimately, it's subcontracting for quality, so quality is of course going to stay on top of it.
So who holds the insurance for the work that they do?
That's, yeah.
The entity. So each of the entities holds the insurance.
And is it equal to or greater than the equivalent of qualities?
That's correct.
They have their own workers' comp insurance as well?
Correct.
Look, can I answer this question? Are you through, Ms. Mary? I'm sorry. Are you listed as part of the owner of M&V now?
No, and according to the statutes, not required to be listed as part owner. That's one avenue, is to be listed as a minority owner, or minimum 20% share. There's actually three ways. There's ownership, there's W-2 employee status, or a joint venture agreement that basically outlines how the supervision is going to be executed. So I can do either of those things. Currently, I'm W-2 inside of each of those organizations, so I check the box there. But in addition to that, a joint venture agreement outlining how that supervision is going to be executed could also be done.
So I have a question for you, because you keep talking about Quality Roofing being the overreaching umbrella. So why
Well,
wouldn't,
not really. It's just that they're doing these two entities are going to be doing subcontracting work for Quality Roofing.
correct, I understand that, and that's what you provided today. So why would you not qualify these additional entities with your state certified license, since the Quality Roofing is the umbrella company?
Well, it's not technically an umbrella company, and I think it's probably a good idea to keep those things separate. I think it makes sense to keep those two things separate from one another.
So, I mean, I'm just trying to make sure it's clear.
Sure.
Because I don't want you to step off into anything that
No, I don't
could be
either.
misconstrued in
Sure,
any way.
yeah.
So Quality Roofing would be writing a contract, right,
Correct.
with these companies?
Correct.
And then you would be subbing it from your state certified company
Correct.
to your local licensed
Correct.
company
Yeah, it's a
that
flag.
you qualify.
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just want to draw your attention to the board. Under Quality Roofing, you might have maybe like 60, 65 open permits. Under his newer company, he has not obtained any permits with his local license.
Correct.
There's a flag to us. Obviously, you can hear it in our voices here. Unfortunately, we deal with the bad stuff a lot.
Yeah, understandable.
And all this right here flags us as potential.
Is there anything in particular that I can bring clarity to?
But I think too, just to interject for a second here, coming from another and like a business standpoint, we definitely see the bad and we have the negative. Obviously, that's why the board is here. But then on the other side of it, you know, we can't see the future. We can't see if he is going to do something wrong or one of the subcontractors is. But if someone does, if that does happen, then they will come before us.
I understand what you're saying, but.
I just don't want to have too much, like having our hand too much into say, you cannot make an economic impact to our community. We are not going to allow you to have an entity.
I understand and appreciate what you're saying. My concern is that the new entity has issues, and quite honestly, what you've laid out as a structure doesn't hold you really accountable financially, except for your license, in the sense. And so I understand that you're a W-2 employee, but that to me just means you can walk away at any point and not necessarily have any financial backing to this company if they have any wrongdoing that needs to happen or has happened. There's no tie to you other than your license financially for any harm that comes to those people on this company, because you're just a W-2 employee, as you said. So at the end of the day, if their insurance doesn't cover whatever the damage is, and the people that are named don't have the funds in which to cure that, who's going to take care of it?
Well, presumably Quality Roofing, who holds the primary contract with the homeowner, it would default to theirs, right? So you've actually got two levels of protection in the event that there is any issue with the homeowner. You've got the Quality Roofing, who held the original contract, and their insurances, and then if there was any need to subrogate to a subcontractor and their insurances, there would be two levels of protection there. So I don't think there's any concern in that respect. Certainly nothing that I've identified. Of course, I don't anticipate having any problems like that. So
Again, please
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
none of us are badgering you. We've just
yeah.
seen way too much over
Yeah.
the last few years.
Well, I've got nearly 20 years, and I think I've maybe come in front of you guys one time in 20 years, and it was immediately resolved. So I think I've got a pretty good track record of doing the right thing and trying to be a good example to businesses in the community.
So my question, Mr. Marino, you looking at all the documentation and actually really kind of seeing all the paperwork and everything, what is your recommendation for this? And do you see,
So in this particular situation, we have to defer to the board for decision. We are currently, I did speak to Mr. Ward, we are waiting on additional documentation to complete the process, should it be permitted. So I have not seen that portion of it yet.
have you ever come across anything like this to where there would be a reason not to approve?
In this instance, no, ma'am. Ultimately, this would have to be up to the board's pleasure.
So who owns the company if
Which
you're
one?
just an employee?
Which
MNV, the new company.
Yeah.
M&V, the owner's name is Myra Castillo. It's the wife of Gaston, who I've known for 15 years. Great people, and I said they trying to build a company, but I'm trying to do what I can to help them become compliant, and then I said nurture them, right, and try to give them some guidance. And I think this is the right way to do it, to be compliant and above board. And I just think we're doing it the right way.
Just help me walk through just for a second. So as of right now, Quality Roofing gets the permit. You sub it to M&V.
Correct.
As of right now.
Correct.
And they do all the work on the job site.
They will under this new
But
structure.
that's what's happening right now, though. Because by law, you can sub it to a separate entity as long as you pull the permit, right?
We cannot sub to them at present because they're unlicensed. They don't currently have a license attached to that organization, so we can't legally sub anything to them.
But you've worked with them in the past,
I have.
but they're not licensed?
I've worked with them in the past. Yes, I have.
I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to figure out,
Yeah.
'cause there's something, I'm not feeling fuzzy for whatever reason.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on,
Yeah.
you know? Because this company's already been in existence, they're already been a roofing company, evidently they might be flying under the radar, whatever. People do that, that's not, it would be the first time.
Right. And that's what I mentioned about helping them with compliance. That's, you know, what this, helping them with compliance and helping them understand how to run and operate a business is really what we're trying to accomplish here. Yeah, they've been under the radar over the years, some, but it's recently come to light, or I've gained a better understanding of some of the requirements. I was previously under the impression that when it came to roofing in particular, and really all trades, that as long as that work was being directly overseen, that you were compliant. However, you're not.
That's
And
right.
I've actually just in the past maybe 6 months or so learned that. So, you know, helping them all become compliant is, you know, the objective here.
Anybody else have a question?
Well, I was just
Well,
gonna say,
you just-
oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, you just said helping them all, so how many more of these do you plan on
There's-
doing?
No, there's two. And you know, if legislation allows for it, and there's not a problem with doing an additional, then, you know, there may be an opportunity to do that at some point in the future, but I don't see that. It's not in my plans, so.
And do you also own, or is this just EB Quality? Is that you also?
I'm a W-2 employee there as well.
Who owns that?
Viviana Alejo,
And so we've already approved this once before?
that's right. Well,
No,
that
let me
was-
correct that real
okay,
quick.
yeah.
If you remember, whenever Mr. Ward came in to support some of his employees to get their own licenses, he applied for examination as well on the local level. At that time, his business entity name was that entity name that he put on his application. So his original licensure qualifies that business that he got on the local level.
But it was an existing business.
That's correct, at that time.
I guess that slipped past me. I didn't realize that. And it can qualify up to 3 companies, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Tim? I think you can qualify up to 3 companies with your state license.
I believe that's
I
correct.
believe that's right, yeah. I believe that's correct.
And I'm not, rainbows, unicorns, sunshine, you know what I mean? I know that there's well, yeah, majority of the time. You caught me. But I mean, I know that there's the negative out there, but from everything that he's saying and that I see, I don't see a reason not to approve. And hearing him, it has that kind of Studer-esque entrepreneurship, leadership, wanting to assist someone be the best that they can possibly be. Isn't that what we as a board would want?
Yeah, if it's done in the right dimension. There's just, when you qualify a separate entity, typically that entity don't sub from one of your other entities.
But with it, like
I
what we
can
saw with
qualify
Freeman-
another building company.
Right.
Actually, I have a remodel company, but that company don't work for me. It is a standalone. So when you're under there's some gray areas, danger areas that can happen with this. That's what's flagging me. And some of it can be against Mr. Ward big time, because if these guys go out and do a job and unpermitted, y'all can help me with this, but if they do an unpermitted job, but you're the qualifier,
He's
you can be
responsible.
held liable for them not pulling a permit, and now his license is in trouble. You see what I'm saying? There's a spider web here.
Right.
And I feel like we need some more information, something to figure something out here.
But if I may, Alton, I would have no issue with it. I understand what you're doing, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Yes.
I just personally want to be able to see where there is more tie to you financially, so that, an oversight to said entity, so that said entity isn't in here with a whole list of issues and owing a bunch of citizens money for work not finished, and it spiral out of control. That's, if you could solve that puzzle for us, then that's the issue.
I think I can, and as the license holder, if I'm the only person associated with that entity that can sign for a permit, if I'm the only one that can sign for a permit, I think thereby, that makes me responsible to any homeowner that they were contracting with.
So yes, what Mr. Ward is saying, and we haven't seen an LOA for this company as of yet. So that means he has not authorized any person to do any kind of permitting on his behalf. Then he is the responsible party if permits should be pulled.
Correct. And I have no intention of doing an LOA for either of these entities.
So you would be the person signing the permits,
I would
period.
be
You
ultimately
would be the
responsible
only-
for
okay.
anything. So, and like I said, I'm comfortable with that, so.
And your contract is written in such a way that Quality Roofing is really the person on the hook with the customer at the end of
That's
the day.
correct.
And
So-
so that's my question, because he
Yeah.
was saying, and this is just coming from a permitting licensing
of course.
standpoint. So would the permits be obtained under Quality Roofing? Okay, that was my
So
question.
I think that solves the question for me
So you're
then, at that
completely
point.
tied.
You've
Yeah.
covered it so that when the citizen comes in here to complain because there's an issue, we're gonna come to you.
Quality, correct,
And we're gonna come to you both for your license and financially.
correct.
That's,
So MNV is not pulling permits then?
No,
okay.
if they.
You're just
if-
qualifying
if-
them.
Correct. If any permit was pulled, it'd be done with my signature. So I would ultimately be responsible regardless.
But you're an employee of all the companies, though.
Correct,
Okay. No ownership in those companies.
correct,
W-2, which is legal.
correct.
Absolutely.
Kind of a loophole in the law of some sorts, but.
Well,
you know,
I.
but it's there.
It's there.
Use it.
All right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
yeah.
There's no such things as loopholes in the walls.
Sorry, I used the wrong words.
Yeah. Well, thank you for what you're doing in the community. I think this is wonderful,
I think it's a good thing.
in my opinion.
Any other discussion? Thank you for taking the time to
Yeah, of course.
explain this to us. Okay, do I have a motion for or against this?
I motion to approve.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion, second. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Okay, the vote is approved by majority. Just word of advice, be very careful, Bo, because
I will.
you're treading somewhere here, so.
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. Our first applicant, well, next applicant to appear before you today. All right, yes, our next applicant to appear before you today is Mr. Brent Hunter. Mr. Hunter, if you will, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Brent Hunter, 430 Waterbury Court, Cantonment, Florida.
Board members, Mr. Hunter appears before you today applying for application for examination to take the residential contractor examination and appears before you today with 4 years, 1 month, and 27 days of experience working under his former employer, Mr. Scott Day. License number CL-318. Now, this license is based out of the city of Brighton, Colorado. Included in this package, you will find copies of Mr. Day's license, along with the definition of the corresponding license type. The Class C license held by the qualifier does match our definition set forth in Chapter 489-105 with one exception. The testing for Colorado follows the code cycle set forth by ICC G13, Residential Building Contractor. Under this code, a residential contractor may construct a building up to a duplex. In our code, our residential contractors are able to construct up to a triplex. Now, based upon the difference in code, staff is deferring to the board for approval or denial of the application for examination.
And
Thank you,
just,
sir.
just as a side note, I want to introduce the board. I'm sure most of you have probably met Dante at some point. He has become one of our newest licensing specialists, and this is his first presentation to the board today, and I think he did a great job. Nick's
you've
been
ever
doing
pulled
a
a
great
permit,
job.
you've met him.
I thank y'all.
Assisting him, and yeah. And so what Dante was referencing is that Mr. Hunter comes from out of state. And so there's a little bit of differences with some definitions, and it's for the board to determine.
And what is staff's recommendation?
Because of the differences in the definitions, staff at this time does not have a recommendation. We're leaving it to the discretion of the board.
Thank you.
Board members, if I may,
Sarcastically said.
you will find a definition for that Colorado licensure type from the city of Brighton. It meets almost all of our qualifications with the exception of triplex and duplex. Our residential contractors can go up to a triplex, and that we are deferring to you based on that one difference.
And I think Mr. Hunter can probably better explain all of his experience than the documentation.
Yeah, so growing up, my dad actually built large custom homes, so I was kind of raised around construction. When I went into, well, shortly after high school, I went to work at Gaylord of the Rockies as a HVAC and refrigeration technician. So I went to trade college. I got licensed in heating and cooling. During that time, I was made an offer from Scott Day. So we did residential remodels and commercial new construction. We did everything from full guts, everything down to the studs, rebuilt it. We did additions. I was also, when I worked for them, project manager for Crumble Cookies tenant finish. And so, yeah, we did remodels all the time, everything from aesthetics to, full homes. And
Very
I-
much structural stuff or mainly cosmetic?
Structural too. Yeah, we did roof trusses when we did the additions. We did the excavation, the foundations, roof trusses, exterior framing. And I found a definition here. So the ICC follows what the IRC is for the G13. And this says holds a license for construction on 1 and 2 family dwellings, U occupancy buildings, and attached single unit dwellings. So townhouses, essentially.
Yeah, it's International Building Code. stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're Florida, we think we're a little bit better than that. We take y'all's and rank it up a little bit, and put our name on it, Any questions from anybody on this? How long have you been here in this area?
So I was actually in Nashville remodeling a townhome when my brother moved here 2 years ago. So I moved down here because he had brought my stuff with him because I lived with him out in Colorado. But I've been back and forth. So I've been here for good for since last summer,
And where are you working now? Just
by myself,
by yourself?
for myself.
Well, so do we blame you for the cold weather then? that's come down?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it anymore either.
The longer you stay here, the less fan you'll be. Any comments? Any questions? All right. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Jinx, second.
These ladies are on a roll. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, you've been unanimously approved.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with it, sincerely. We love seeing young guys coming in like this. Our industry needs young people, all us old farts. We need young people. See how I look at here. So thank you
No,
for doing
thank you,
this.
guys.
Good
Have a
luck with
good day.
everything. Okay,
Back to back, too.
do we need to take a quick break, anybody, or
Donuts.
do we need to take a quick break, or are we good? Okay, I lost time.
All right. Our next item, we're moving into disciplinary hearings. Both of our next items are restitution-only hearings. The board has already made determinations as far as violations. So the first one is Wade L. Hunter III, doing business as Lee Hunter Construction LLC, registered license number RR 282812171, Contractor Competency Board complaint number 240863 COM. It's in regard to Julie Ricks, the homeowner complainant at 215 Berry Road, Pensacola, Florida 32507. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Ms. Ricks, are you present today? And are you going to provide testimony? Mr. Hunter, are you present today? Mr. Hunter is not present. Melissa, did we receive communication from Mr. Hunter in regard to today?
Yes, he texted me about 8:45 and said he was going to be running late. And I explained to him we had other things on the agenda first. Just get here as quick as you can.
Could you text him to see if he's like within 2 minutes? If he is, we could, but if he's 30, 40, we'll just go on forward, but at least be considerate. While we're waiting, when the board meeting is over today, we have some donuts and some biscuits and something back there in the back if you guys would like to
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
indulge.
You're spoiling us.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Definitely want to make sure our security lady gets something. We're thankful for her.
Yes, we are.
Thought it was charging all this time. It wasn't even charging.
He said he had to borrow a car to get here, so he's still about 15 minutes out. And he said he'd go ahead with it if you're going to, but he'll still continue coming.
We'll take a 5-10 minute break, just give him an extra couple minutes and just to try to be as considerate. If anybody wants to run to the restrooms,
Lee, they are going to take a break.
we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Try, like, they want you to be here if you can, so. All right. Bye-bye.
Competency board meetings, most of the days today, once I get done, I can call you, but meanwhile, you're welcome to negotiate with them.
Just to let you know. No, it only covers the people that are employed. The contract. We received a phone call about this yesterday. From the state. Yeah. So, she's here somehow you're gonna have to see some kind of insurance that covers the quality. Yeah. Not the same. That's what we don't have. Yeah. Yeah. So essentially, he still. That's right. So that's yeah. And considering
Young things stay on top of this.
I was waiting with my kid, I was waiting for the syrup to come out on the spaghetti. Free range. He's 14, 17, 2 is doctor's appointment. Just before the holiday. 4 or 5 days before the holiday. He's 11. But his dad is 6'8", so he's at the end of the day. Still 6'8".
How was your holidays?
It was good, how about you?
Hadn't been able to do my roofing contract, so kind of been,
It's too cold to be working on it.
well, then when it hits on Wednesdays, nobody really wants to do it New Year's Eve or the day, before Christmas or after Christmas, same way New Year's, so we hadn't got a lot done here lately. Then the cold hit and it's kind of,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of putting shingles on when it's just cold. You gun nail everything, it gets this cold, but next is shoot through shingles. And we've had, we're doing pill and stick, underlayment on everything.
Do you like that?
I do, it's a really good product, but when it's cold, the only thing I've seen is it doesn't heat up enough to kind of stretch out, and then when you put it on in the wintertime, in the summer, it can heat up, which kind of does. It'll give you a little lift here and there, you know what I mean? So it needs to be, when it's this cold, I don't think it's a good idea to put it on. It needs to be a little bit warmer, you know what I mean? So it just kind of, it's like we haven't done anything this week. We may try to do one more, but you get these big stamp houses, and you put it on, it looks pretty good, and then when it heats up, it starts wrinkling up all over, so you have to be a little careful.
Yeah, I imagine. He's slick. What's your company?
Ma'am,
What's the name of your company?
Bachelor Roofing. So, we've been around 74 years. That's one of the oldest. I had a great uncle, third generation, and had a great uncle started in 1951. And my dad worked for him in the 50s and bought it in the 60s, and then I've been doing it for 6 years. So and I've got a nephew that's involved with it now, so I think we'll keep it. We're not real big, we're one of the smaller companies, but just kind of keep it in there, keep it in there. So,
Makes you live.
quality's, they're big now, so.
I was telling her, I went to, it's called Entrecon. It's a business seminar recently. Oh, really? Clint Steele. And he actually won Entrepreneur of the Year. I guess, or something. Yeah, I've heard, yeah, it's pretty busy.
Congratulations on getting on board. So, I've been on it for a long time. Thank you. Probably knows. probably time, so.
As long as it's working.
I've enjoyed it, actually, so, yeah. Seen a lot of people come through, you know what I mean, so, and most people are good, you know, you got a few bad apples, but, you know, the majority are really trying, you know.
And they get worse and worse. That is a.
Yeah, I saw where, a friend of mine used to work with him, about a guy, they were out there working, 20-degree weather. He was posting.
If it was me, I'd let.
Well, I would, and I will, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Early release and,
You know.
I'm just gonna tell you, but they can't.
No.
Well, they.
No. No. I just learned to always say I serve as pleasure.
Right, yeah, you got suicide. That is.
Do you believe wholeheartedly that
Because I don't pay for it, no.
No. No, not at all. But then I also know
it's kind of chilly in there.
feral cats, you know, you feed feral cats too.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, kind of mitigate a little bit.
That's right. It is difficult when you get someone that can do that. People so that person is gold. But if you usually those are two sets, but technical guy knows that he is not, he doesn't have the personality.
Bless you.
Have you ever had someone just say super, yes, I have had someone say that. I wanted to ask you that off the record, so you didn't have to write it.
Mr. Tim, I just saw Ms. Rhonda.
Yeah.
I said, no, I didn't know that. She come walk up and said, hey, Alton.
When Charles retired, I had to have some.
That's what she told me. She said,
Well, she's the first one I called, because I had talked to her. Hey, that was a good snag. Oh, man, that was I went to work there, she was my boss, and I became her boss. And now you're her boss again. Yeah. But you know, I've known her for 30 years. Oh, yeah. And when you work with somebody that close, yeah. And you can still. Someone just pulled in their parking lot. Oh, yeah, I think it's World Park. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's a silver truck, I don't know, it was a new truck, I don't know how we could borrow somebody's new truck, but I'm tempted to put the phone tracker on, put the number in and see what pops up, because she's been calling him, so he's got his phone with me.
Oh, yeah. Bob. Yeah, Mr. Bob. Bob used to, Bob.
Yes.
Drafting in high school with me.
Oh, I don't have to have, I don't have to call him.
It was, absolutely.
Just have to have his phone, and it'll ping the phone what tower it's popping off of.
I mean, in my family,
Florida and Italy. Oh, very good, yeah. The federal law passed, they passed it a long time ago. That's part of the Patriot Act.
I do 3. I can't, this is awful.
Using my laptop to try and edit something.
Is yours touch screen too? Like is it screen touch?
It is.
Yeah, but
I get to see two pairs. I go to work in double
you have a
space.
wireless mouse?
Some people charge for them,
Not that they take away
some
from me.
places don't.
Yeah, so that's my, because I'm
Scrolling
keyboard,
like this.
yeah, I can do
I'm
it.
thinking this is just awful. Trying to work on something.
I know. Yeah, I have 2
That's how they
big
do it.
monitors and then, of course, my laptop sits in the middle. So I'm on 3 screens. I do plan review, I do a whole bunch of junk. And it's,
Your reference documents.
yeah, and I do these notices and things, so I always have all my references over here and then I work them here. And
I write a lot, so
yeah,
like any long writing that I do, it's just awful. I use
We'll call the meeting back to order. I think we got carried away on our time a little bit there.
All right, so we've reconvened. I've already read this case into the minutes. I believe Mr. Hunter has now joined us. Ms. Ricks did say that she was going to provide testimony. Mr. Hunter, are you going to provide testimony today? Yes. So I'm going to leave it to the discretion of the board. Again, everything else on this hearing has already been decided. This is for restitution purposes only.
Okay, so they've been sworn in. Do we need to swear 'em in?
We can now. Ms. Ricks, Mr. Hunter, if you'll please be sworn.
Hey, do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. So, Ms. Ricks, would you like to go first to explain?
Ms. Ricks, real quickly, did you provide any additional documentation from the last time? So staff would request that the documentation attached to the agenda, it was previously attached at the last hearing, be moved into evidence for today.
So moved.
Do you have a second? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Ricks.
So what would you like to know?
So I think the last time we had some questions about some of the details on this, and does anybody have?
Yes, if you recall, I believe the board just needed additional time to run through the documentation and see if they had any questions.
I think someone did ask me about the contract with the new contractor.
Right.
And that contract is a cost plus. So, I mean, I gave him, and I think that's included in the documentation I've already given you, was what he was paid as the contractor. And then anything past that point, we have a text string where we talk about what the approximate cost would be per thing that we would be doing, like for the other subs that came in. But as far as like nailing it down exactly how much things were gonna cost, we didn't do that. We didn't have that in our contract. And I guess, I'm assuming that's how Cost Plus works. So,
Jennifer, can you pull up the document that says restitution document submitted and redacted?
So that's the
Yeah.
front page here that you'd see on your screen. Would you like me to just scroll through each page?
Let me ask a question first. So what I mean, I can see that you've got $50,000 worth of cost, $50,100.43 worth of cost, and then $29,500 in payments. But there was a question in there somewhere where it was payment to the new subcontractor, and I think that got if you go down.
I believe that's that first reference up here of the $15,000.
So that's to the new person?
Correct.
Not what you paid Mr. Hunter?
No.
Okay. So the 50,000 is what you contracted with Mr. Hunter for?
I contracted with Mr. Hunter for 66,000 and I paid him 35,000.
You contracted for 66 and you gave him 35?
Correct.
And of that 35? Of that 35, what was actually completed?
The floor.
Okay. Which,
I think that's one of the reasons we were requesting
right,
from the new contractor, the scope of work that was pending, so we can better determine, you know, where contractor A left off and where contractor B is beginning and what it's gonna take to get to the end.
right, and
To
I
get
don't,
to the end or to get to the point where Mr. Hunter would have been in the contract? Because it was 35,000 up front, we got to knock down. And then once we got to knock down, then I would give him another installment, and then at the end of the job, another installment. So, I'm
I'm-
sorry, I'm a little confused by
Yeah,
it.
I understand what you're saying to knock down, but, you know, if, again, that, you're telling us it's to knock down, we don't know what that interpretation means, because we don't know how much knockdown, how much wall space. So if we had
That would be
a,
on the first contract.
right, but
Understood.
there
Yeah.
should have been a contract, what we requested was the contract with with your new contractor, and I didn't see it in the
Which is just,
documentation.
literally is just cost plus. It's like,
I understand what you're saying, cost plus, but there should still be
Scope
some
of
kind
work.
of scope of
the
work,
scope of
contract
work
of written
probably would have
something.
been included in the permit? Whatever he applied for?
You
Wouldn't-
should have a contract with him, even if it's cost plus.
Yeah.
There should be a contract that's written
There-
between the
there
two
should
of
be
you
a
for your
document.
protection.
Of some kind.
He didn't include he didn't include any of that stuff, what you're talking about.
Then
It's
you're
just-
setting yourself up for the same issue.
I suppose so, yes. Yep.
It's very difficult for us to come up with or agree with a restitution amount if we don't have something in writing from the new person and what their scope is going to be of what they're going to do or finish
Right.
or have done at this point versus what your first Mr. Hunter did, you contracted with, and what he actually completed and you paid him for.
Right.
We have to have both of those in order to compare, to come up with what that restitution number would be. And if we don't, we're stuck.
Okay,
and the job's still going, it's not completed?
correct.
Are you able to get that from the current contractor? I don't think it would be too difficult if he's a
You
contractor to provide
you
it.
wouldn't think so, would you?
Yeah.
There is a new permit on this job? So,
I can bring up the permit, and y'all can take a look at the permit.
correct me if
It
I'm
is
wrong,
still-
Alton,
sorry.
is that not a requirement, that they have a contract? Is that not part of the permitting process in your world?
We don't require proof
I know
of it.
you guys don't, but
Mhm.
is it not part of the rules, so to speak?
By the Florida law, yeah,
Yeah.
the Florida Building Code requires for there to be some
Right.
type of a contract deal.
And the contractor should know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoever's doing it cost plus.
And you gotta
or
have
whatever.
certain,
Yeah,
verbiage in that contract, including the construction recovery, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's legal that you have to have in there. Question, I'm trying to put my brain around these total numbers, and
Okay.
we were hoping for a better breakdown, to be honest.
Okay.
That's what we were looking for, instead of the same thing. I'm seeing $50,000 that you're listing here, you know, based on the contractor, 15, electrician, 9, plumber, 8, et cetera. Cost plus, and I'm seeing 15,000 to the builder out of this. If I take that out of the 50, just using rough figures, that means that around 35 has been spent for the project.
Right.
And he's charging you 15,000 and the fee on top of 30, in other words, you spend 35,000 and he's charging $15,000 fee for $35,000 worth of work?
So far.
Your original contract was for how much, 65,000?
66.
We in the roll business.
56,000.
66.
66,000. And I'm looking at this right now where it says project type, contract value is 35,000.
This is the new,
This is the new one, right? So
Contractor.
according to the new general contractor, he's saying that the contract value of this job's 35,000.
that's correct.
And the original contract value was 60-something, you said? 56?
66, and she's
66.
giving him 35.
And you're giving him 35, so 35 and 35 is 70, so the difference is about 5?
Yeah, I mean, 35 is what I've spent. I haven't necessarily, that's just a whole other issue. I have another issue with another contractor that doesn't even need to. So he has gotten, like, the plumber, I pay the plumber. And he pulled the permits, I paid the plumber. The electrician, I paid the electrician. My contractor that has $15,000 of my money is not doing what he's supposed to do either. That's a whole other thing. I'll see you guys later. But so at this point, and actually you may not because I'm so over all of it. But so at this point right now, the house is not finished. It got to knockdown. It's been painted, and the floor is going in. And I don't know what else to tell. I'm exhausted because I'm physically doing a lot of the work myself. So sorry if I don't have, this is just where I am. So you said 5,000 is the difference?
No, do we still have a final to do on this, on the inspection, or is any inspection still pending?
So to draw your attention to the screen, it does have a couple of past inspections under the new contractor's permit, strapping and nail and framing. That would put the next inspection to be due would be a final when it's complete.
And who's the contractor, the new contractor?
This one was pulled by PB Services Group, LLC, Rodrigo Barahona.
I just don't think we have enough to make a decision. I don't know whether to wait till the final permit is issued and then it's closed out and she has the final numbers as a settlement.
I know that Mr. Hunter is present if you
We
want to
could- yeah,
talk
we'll-
to him as well. I mean,
Yeah.
he might be able to
If you want to
give you
allow
some
him
more
to talk.
information.
You can get Mr. Hunter up here.
Yeah, there's just, 35,000 and a contractor charge you 15,000 for that much of work for his amount of fee. That's about a 50-something percent, cost plus 50-something percent. And I would imagine you didn't agree to cost plus 50-something
I
percent.
didn't agree to cost plus.
Do you have a contract with him at all?
Yes.
Okay, if you can possibly bring that to us.
Okay.
We want to try to help you. First of all, let me tell you, we're here to help you.
I know.
I'm sincere. We're here to help you. But we have to have some structure to be able to put that together. Does that make sense? And I can understand, Ms. Ricks, you're probably wits end, whatever words, on this thing.
Yep.
So we don't want to make it more complicated, but we have to be fair for the
I
whole
understand
picture.
yeah,
Does that
okay.
make sense?
Yep.
Thank you for understanding.
Absolutely.
And if you could possibly get that to us, is that what the thoughts are?
Yes.
Okay.
All righty.
All right.
Do we need to take a vote on that or just recommend for,
actually, someone would need to make a motion to continue to the.
for continuance for next hearing?
I personally would encourage you to talk to Mr. Hunter because he is present.
Right, we'll do that as well. We'll do that as well, yeah.
Yes, you do need a motion and a vote.
Gotcha. Just wanted to confirm that. Thank you, Ms. Ricks. Mr. Hunter, would you like to say something concerning this case?
So we started this job, I don't remember the exact date, it was around July last year. And then, like I said last meeting, within like 2 weeks, I was terminated when I went to pay for the permit. That's when she hired the new contractor out. That was one of my subcontractors. She just hired him right out from underneath me. And now I guess she's having issues with him as well. But she didn't even realize that she's paying a $15,000 contractor fee, which is odd. Do I need to go over the work completed?
y'all, I mean, we talked about this, but that's what I was gonna go over. I know she said all that was done was the floor, but there was other things that was done, so that's all I was gonna talk about, was all the work that was completed.
I think what we need to, now that you know that what she's requesting, is a rebuttal to her?
Yeah, she wants $50,000 for a job that she paid me $35,000 to do, that I've done probably close to $30,000, $35,000 in work on. I mean, she went out and hired a new contractor, a new electrician, a new plumber. I don't really see why I would be liable to pay for that, you know? Or contractor fees of $15,000 to a new guy. She terminated me within, you know, a couple weeks.
Jennifer, did we already get information? I'm sorry. Did we already get information from Mr. Hunter of his side of what he already completed and paid for, and an accounting of the money that he received so far?
We have not received an accounting of his funds, what he expended to date.
Okay.
Ms. Reber is saying that he had a breakdown in his contract that was originally provided. And so that might be some information that could assist.
It'd be helpful if you can go through that and from your version, see what percentage of work was completed based on the original contract that you had.
Right.
And then attach a dollar value to it, and so that way we know exactly where you're at on the.
And then come back next month?
I think we're probably heading towards making that motion to
Yeah.
postpone until next meeting.
Something that shows us
Right,
how much
But
money.
we need some
Yeah.
definites.
Right.
We don't,
Yes.
Yeah.
the scattering is hard
Yeah.
for us to bring.
And this will be like the 5th month this has been continued, so yeah, I get it,
and
yeah.
We don't want you to come back any more than
Right.
you want to.
Right.
We want to get it resolved.
Right.
For everybody involved.
Right.
But at the same time, we can't just throw a number out without there being some,
Right, absolutely, yeah.
you know, something to build that number on.
Right.
So if you could take your original contract, what you have completed, and it should have a number value out there.
Right.
And then we will check with Ms. Ricks to make sure that that has been completed. In other words, we'll be fair to the
Yeah, I
process.
sent pictures of everything that that was done to Melissa.
We'll be
so
fair
yeah,
to the
we got that.
process
Yeah.
to make sure so that we know what's to be subtracted, et cetera.
Sounds good.
Is that correct for everybody? Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay. So I need a motion for continuance
I'll make a motion for continuance
I'll
on this
second.
case.
and a second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. See none, hear none. Motion has been approved for continuance. To February.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Our next item, again, is a restitution-only hearing. It is Wade L. Hunter III, doing business as Lee Hunter Construction, LLC, registered license number RR 282812171, Contractor Competency Board complaint number 240967 COM. It's in regard to Jeffrey and Cynthia Hedenberg, the homeowner complainants at 6561 Oak Cliff Road, Pensacola, Florida, 32526. As you recall, at our last hearing, you needed more documentation, some more information in regard to restitution. You also asked for some updated photos. You wanted to see the progress and where it stood. All of that information is now attached to this agenda. And so at this time, I'm going to go ahead preemptively and request that those be moved into evidence.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. See none, hear none. Motion is approved.
Mr. and Ms. Hettenberg are present today. Are you going to provide testimony for this hearing? Thank you. And Mr. Hunter, we know, is present. I'm going to have the Hettenbergs sworn in and remind the board that Mr. Hunter was already sworn and remains sworn.
Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
I'm going to leave it to the discretion of the board on how they wish to proceed.
Okay. So we see the information. Could you pull up the accounting form there on the
Item
restitution
5?
request?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. Just for everybody to be able to see some numbers here before we go into. And this is just,
So I believe how Mr. Hedenberg broke it down is all the items paid as items 1 through 8, and then deductions A through H. So then you see his breakdown here in the final number that he came to. Again, he's here for any explanation you might need.
okay. Just make sure everybody sees that first there. Mr. Heidenberg, would you like to?
Basically, it's at a standstill. I got the roof done, I paid to do it. He was supposed to give the deposit. We waited a week, waited 2 weeks, waited 3 weeks. He never got in touch with the roofer. I'd already done a knock and everything else for that. There was no contact after that. He stopped answering texts. He hasn't answered a phone call, period. He always texts you back. The inside, do you have the sheet, the contract sheet?
Was it part of this backup, sir?
Yeah, should be the next sheets, the next pages.
This one?
That one.
Okay.
This copy doesn't have what was completed, but I'll go through real quick with the parts so that you understand better on what was completed and what wasn't. The initial payment was given, and that was $68,000. He completed everything on the inside of the house pretty much, with the exceptions of the floor and the bathroom, the master bath. He did some work in there, and it got left like it is. The flooring was done all the way up to the master bedroom and the second bedroom across the hall. I still need the floor. I have a stack of flooring sitting in my living room still to finish it. I had asked for estimates from him to show bills and stuff that he had paid or what he paid people. I get no answers. The big piss off on this was trying to send him the construction contract termination letter. I get it back, unopened, not received. So he's not even given addresses to them that are correct, because I use the address that I got from up in the front office. So to me, he's just playing the same way he did when they worked with the previous company that he worked for. That guy's in jail now. He's following the same pattern. I need some of this money back that he has taken, and I took my money out of my retirement to do this room addition. I shouldn't have, because I found out later I have cancer, and that is another whole cost. But this is getting to the point where once you all make your determination, it's going to be a civil case, and it's going to be for probably more than what he's willing to come up with. But that's going to take a judge's order. If you have any questions on any of the amounts, feel free to ask.
What is your current claim right now, your total claim that you feel that you are owed?
The previous one is $68,000 for the amounts that bills I paid to do the roof. I paid off the lumber company, which is the item 5, and 3 and 4 are the roof. The 1 and 2 are the payments that he received. The initial payment was 63. The next payment was the 15 for finishing the framing. And pretty much after that one is when he just cut off all contact.
So in total, you've paid the contractor, what?
In total, I've paid the contractor the 63
Plus
and the
15.
15. 69, 68. 8. How did, you got the old one up there.
68,000 is what it's showing on the contract in this, so.
Okay. Plus the 15. The roof was paid out of my pocket. It was supposed to come out of that money. The bill for the lumber, he should have paid. I went ahead and paid it because every month they were adding another $90 to it for interest. The other items are letters, certified letters to try and get him to respond to something. Those are the 6, 7, and 8. The items on A, B through H are estimates on some of it, where I called contractors to see what it would cost to do a slab to the standards that were required. Because of the addition, they had to drill into the main foundation, so it was extra work. It wasn't just pouring a slab. The estimate on the floor was what was done by percentage. So that should cover pretty much all the numbers.
Just so I can wrap my head around this, I'm gonna kind of go through this where I can understand it. So to date, you had paid the contractor 83,000.
Yes.
The new contractor, have you hired a new one yet? No?
I can't get someone to come out.
Okay, so how much have you paid out of pocket on top of the 83,000 to get to the work to where it's at today?
The 14 for the roof and change, and the 11,039 to the lumber company.
So items 3 through 5, right?
3
Yes.
through 5. And what was the total
then
value of the
letters.
contract?
Total value of the contract was I owed him, and he would have gotten another,
No,
10
just the total, not what he's left to do. What was the total, including the 83?
oh,
that you paid?
94, 150.
94,150. And in your opinion, you don't know what percentage of work was completed? Would you be able to determine that?
The percentage on the inside went by pretty quick. Taking out the fireplace, that took less than a week. The flooring and doing the ceiling patches was another probably 2 weeks.
If you had to
Putting
place
in-
a dollar value to what's left to do, would you be able to? I mean, I know you said you haven't hired anybody, but what do you think it would take based on the experiences that you've had and the people that you've talked to?
2 rooms of flooring, or the 2 rooms inside of flooring, and then the large room outside. The one person I've talked to said he would give me a discount because the one room is empty. There's no furniture they've got to move around or anything. They've just got to lay the floor. Wallboard, ceiling, electrical, plumbing. My big cost is going to be electrical. Windows and some kind of covering for the outside. The cost that I've gotten on the outside was $35,000 to get the aluminum siding to match the other that's on the house already.
5,000?
35.
35,000?
Excuse me, 100.
Okay.
Okay.
It was 7,500 for brick if I wanted to match the brick coming on around. Windows were, to get ones where I don't have to put up shutters was 10,000. To get windows where I have to still put up shutters was,
Well, what was originally contracted?
Done on that.
Yeah, what was originally contracted with your original contract? So I'm trying to define that if he would have finished his job, his scope of work, and he quit, let's just say hypothetically 50% of it, right now, so I'm understanding that you haven't bought in another contractor either to give us a dollar value on what it's gonna take to finish the work. Like our previous
he's
case,
probably only done 40%.
40% of the work, okay. But-
Because from the pictures, you can see the room is not, it's frame and that's about it. Frame and cutouts for the windows.
And in his contract where he did pricing, he didn't price each individual thing. He put addition and a total price. Okay, but there was no breakdown for what each thing cost, like windows and siding or brick or anything like that. It was just like a bulk cost for the room.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important that you're probably gonna, again, for me to feel comfortable, is to get a contractor to come in and price. You can't?
I have called 6 of them. They will not come. They do not want to touch anything with that name on it. Because the first thing they go and do is look and see who the previous contractor was.
So, yeah, nobody will come.
Emerald Coast, they did the roof. Their parent company was supposed to come give me an estimate, and he called and said he's sorry he couldn't come out. He wasn't gonna touch it.
So basically, we can't get anybody to come look at it because of the name that's associated with it. And it's causing inconveniences in other ways because it causes me inconveniences with work because I have nowhere to store my work clothes, so they're like, folded up in boxes and stuff. I'm having to get off work early to come to these hearings, so, it's causing me an inconvenience in that area.
Board members, I'm bringing up the photos that were attached to the agenda,
I'm looking at
just to give you an idea of the current conditions.
Yeah, that's what the spare room, that addition looks like.
I've started trying to take down some of the stuff, but I can't work that much during the day when there's light
Because I'm having to.
because she has to sleep.
Jen, in a situation like this, is this something where we would use a county resource to go out and make an evaluation? Or have you ever had an instance like this?
No, we have not.
They
I will
asked
say
at the
that.
last meeting that someone come out and take pictures, but I don't
You
think they
provided
would.
the pictures, yeah.
So he didn't come out, but you were supposed to send someone that would estimate.
We don't provide estimates like that. I mean, we can do something as a courtesy to deem whether it's safe or
No,
unsafe.
they asked for it for them, not for me.
I understand what you're saying. We requested pictures. Pictures were provided. We did not send an employee out to make a determination on what percentage of work was done. We don't know. There's no way for our staff to get into that contract and make a determination on what percentage is complete.
This is not objective, it's subjective. at that
Correct, correct.
So, in this picture, you can see that they replaced the part of the ceiling above the shower, but they put up the wrong kind of ceiling board because it's not, waterproof. And,
You don't have to have waterproof there.
yeah, well, it's,
With that bathroom,
You don't have to have.
well, I had a
it's not
mold
for-
problem to begin with.
It's just not code that you have to have.
It's
on
not
the-
code, but I wanted the antibacterial, the green.
I understand that.
so if you go back to the previous picture, if you see the light, no, the bathroom, the
Go back
shower.
up, go back up.
So if you see in the very back, there's a light that his dad installed. Apparently, he laid What was it,
The power, it's one of those LED lights with a separate power source. He didn't put it up on the beam like it's supposed to be, and that's what the black spot is next to the light, because there's a hot spot,
so that's gonna have to be replaced. because
and
of
that light is already burned out. So there's all kinds of work that I have to do still.
On either side where
There was a
you can
wall.
see wood, there was stuff there, but on this side of it, there's electrical, that his dad worked on and replaced, not very well.
You're talking about the contractor's father?
Yes.
Okay.
My dad's passed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, and that whole closet area right there, that part was supposed to be knocked out, and it's not knocked out. And that still part, that's where the vanity is, and so that wall on that side where the door frame is, all that was supposed to be knocked out, so we could get a bigger vanity and expand that. That is our current bedroom, which, once the addition was finished, that was supposed to be 2 big closets. So,
Same photo, just a little lighter.
yeah. And then
Do you
that,
guys have drawings done for this? Did you have drawings done for this?
he was supposed to
He
have.
did a plan. The person that did the plans did not come out and look at what was being done. They have, the plans have a door, double door going out of the addition,
And we didn't want doors going out, we just wanted windows.
but they didn't pour any kind of threshold outside of it. The people doing the framing were just following the picture. They did not follow the supplemental instructions that they were given 2 days before. They ran the roof all the way to the peak of the old roof, where it was only supposed to go halfway up to match the roof line of the sunroom addition that sticks out next to it. In the one picture where you see a sliding door, that is the sunroom that it goes into. That is some of the work in the living room. That is work in the kitchen.
No, that's the living room, and that's
Oh,
mine.
yeah, that's the living room.
And I am gonna have to repaint part of that wall now because, yeah.
That's the $1,400 beam that he had to put in. Because the roof started sagging, the ceiling started sagging down.
Which the beam itself is starting to come apart from the ceiling, so. That's the living room, that's the flooring that's sitting in my living room, that's taking up a bunch of space.
This is the wall going to the sunroom.
And that's the sliding door that was supposed to come out.
There's a window and a sliding door that all have to come out.
And that's the whole picture of the sliding glass door and the window that was supposed to come out.
The plywood standing up against the wall is where the window was in the bedroom that will be eventually, hopefully, a doorway coming out.
But he had to put that plywood up to keep the light out.
I have been trying to take down the brick. Prices probably, you asked about what it's gonna cost. For the electrical is probably gonna run up into the 2000s at least, because I'm probably gonna have to run a 220 line out to the room, because I plan on putting separate ACs, wall units out there.
Was this all in your contract originally?
Originally, I'd asked for that, but he didn't put it in that.
So, yeah, we're just gonna have to stay in the confines of what your contract is. That's what I'm leading to here. I understand you may have to eventually, but we have to look at what the contract was, what the
Well,
actual is.
Okay, on the room, all he put was complete room with drywall and paint and new flooring.
Right.
The plans have electrical and everything else in them.
Is there any more pictures, Ms. Jennifer? Is this? Okay.
And also, in order to add this addition on, we had to take down our permanent fence and put up a temporary fence that is not very,
I've got people walking into the backyard, basically.
and with that, you know, temporary fence, they can get into that room, they could get into the house through the sliding glass door. So it's not very, safe right
Very
now
secure.
with that fence being moved
Gotcha.
around.
So your request from the board today is what dollar amount are you seeking for damages?
To start, if you can't come up with for the room being completed and stuff, I need the 14 for the roof and the 11, excuse me, for the pane, the lumber company.
But it's not starting, whatever judgment we give, whatever we decide on will be final. So,
The total I've paid in, the 83, minus what, can you go down a little bit? Minus the
60.
items on A through H. So it'd be 68 is what I'm looking for.
And we can have them come back with more information as well.
which we're probably gonna have to, but let's listen to the contractor.
Okay, any other questions?
He may be able to give you a better or more accurate for the items, because I had to estimate them, because he wouldn't tell me what he did for this. And for the concrete, for example, I put 73, because that's what I got as an estimate for somebody pouring a slab, because I'm putting a slab on the other side for a patio. And when that guy was there, I asked him, how much would you have charged me to do this slab on this side? And he just threw me a number of 73.
And we really couldn't trust anything from him on what he said he spent on this or that, because he never would, give us receipts or copies of receipts. And that was a never-ending battle with him, because I constantly texted and asked for that. Even when he asked for more money, I was like, well, I wanna see what you've spent so far and what you spent it on, because what you're saying, you need more money for this and everything, you've already gotten, you know, the 68 originally, and you did not do enough work or spend enough to account for $68,000. Then another 15 on top of that. I'm sorry. But- And I just don't think, I don't have very much respect for him because of just taking the money and leaving. And I'm not trying to play on the sympathy vote, but taking it from someone who has cancer and is having to battle that and knowing there's gonna be cost to that, and then he just up and takes off with the money and doesn't finish the job. That is just, to me, is a very despicable human being, and just don't have any respect for the man. And they always tell you that dogs are a good judge of people. Well, I should have listened to my 3 dogs, because none of them liked him.
Thank you.
So just to add some more information and hopefully have the board be able to understand where this project was at. I pulled up the permitting records. You'll see it up there on the screen. There were some inspections performed on this addition. Our inspector went out in June of last year for the strap and nail. So it did have the footing inspection. It did have those foundation items and all the way to the strap and nail. The next inspection would have been a framing and then a final. So that can give you kind of a timeline or an approximation of where the addition stood.
So all the work up to where it's at has been inspected, it appears. Up to where it's at.
According to the records.
Right, right. Okay. Mr. Hunter?
So, let's see, I'm gonna have to go back and forth, I'm sorry, guys. Line item 1 on my estimate was to build the addition out back, which was priced at $74,000. The second item was replace the fireplace to open the wall. That was completed. The third item was to build the 2 closets in their current bedroom, which was discussed to be done after the addition was done so they could move everything out. Open the kitchen wall, that was done. Installed the LVP throughout the house. They were allotted $2 a square foot to buy materials. The materials actually came in at $2.89 a square foot. That was done all the way up to, like he said, the bedroom, was not complete because they're still living in there. And then as the picture showed, the 1 bedroom in the back hallway, you just couldn't get in there. There was just too much stuff, so that was going to be done, at a later time as well. Let's see, go back. We removed the closet in the hallway, and then we installed the beams in the living room. She said last meeting that she thought the job was at 70 to 75% on video is what she said. Now they're saying 40%. So I don't really know where to stand. I said it was probably around 80% done with everything. And, I think she countered with 75, so now they're saying 40.
Can I just stop you for a second?
Yeah.
You're saying you think it's 80% finished?
Right. And last meeting she said 75. So now
I'm not talking about her.
Yeah,
I'm talking
I
about
say 80.
good-
Yeah,
good.
80. Yeah.
So the pictures we just saw, is that the condition it's in right now?
Yeah, it needs 4 windows in the addition, and then the side.
All the sheetrock?
Yeah, a little bit of insulation and drywall. Yeah. So the entire job from start
And
to
you
finish.
think it's 80% finished?
The entire job, not just the addition itself, but the scope of the whole contract, yes.
He said previously 75%. I'm looking at the.
75, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
75,
just,
yeah,
from what
so
pictures we
75,
saw
yeah.
today,
Yeah,
I think Mr. Irwin's been in remodeling buildings as long as I have. I don't see 80% anywhere close.
And any part of the addition done?
Just the framing.
Just the framing is done.
On the addition? Yeah,
The
that's not,
addition was
yeah,
74,000.
yeah,
And that was 74,000.
right.
So 74,000 to frame it, complete the room with drywall, paint, and new flooring. And all that's done is the framing.
Correct.
And of that scope, just that one line, you're saying 80%?
No, I was talking about the entire job with the beams and the rest of the floor being done and the walls being taken out of the house, the fireplace being removed.
Okay.
So on the line item, we'll just say line item 1, just for reference here, building the 25 by 16, 74,000. And then, obviously, that's only framed up.
Correct.
That's
Slab,
only,
yep, slab and frame, done, yeah.
does it have a shingle roof on it? Is it
Metal.
metal, so it's all dried in?
Correct.
And then the removed fireplace has been completed or not?
Correct.
That's been completed?
Yes, sir.
The walk-in closets, that's not completed?
That's where they're staying at now, so no, sir.
Oh,
Not
I'm
completed.
asking you. I'm
Yeah,
not,
no, not complete. That's the room they're in now, so those closets haven't been built, yeah.
okay, and then the open the kitchen wall,
Done, not done.
and obviously the LVP's not been installed. And then removing the
So
2
it's been
walls,
installed and everything except for those back rooms, the LVP.
it's installed throughout the other part of the house?
Correct.
Okay, so, remove the 2 walls,
One's been removed, one's still standing.
and of course, it's not repaired. We saw the pictures of
Correct.
that, so it's not, and then the closet in the hallway's not done?
Removed. It's been taken out, yes, sir.
Seemed like way less than 80%.
And then the beams in the living room, the last one's also done.
So do you have a breakdown of the money that was provided to you and what it went towards?
Not on this phone, no.
But you would be able to get that.
Yes.
Then you didn't hire any subs to do this, this was just you doing the work yourself?
No, I hired subs.
You had subs?
Yeah.
So you'd have documentation showing what you've paid your subs for the percentage of completion that they did?
Yeah.
Is there any electrical and plumbing permits attached to this?
No.
So any electrical work has been done, has been unpermitted?
From this project, you see it's here. This is where Mr. Hunter pulled his permit.
Mhm.
There was a roofing permit obtained. There have been no other permits obtained.
Mr. Hunter, this is not the first time we've ran into this with you on the electrical.
Right.
I don't know if you're not getting the message, or if you don't give a fill in the blank. But it matters to us that we have unlicensed contractor activity going on out here.
Right.
That's what we're here for, to protect the citizens.
Right.
I want to think better of you, but you're letting us know that you really don't pay much attention to us.
Yes, sir.
Which is very, I think I could speak for most of the board and say that's pretty challenging for us to see somebody who blatantly walks in and just says, don't care what y'all think. There's a lot of other words come to my mind from a construction job site, and I'm not going to say them.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying here?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you totally got this or not, but you've dug yourself into a pretty deep spot here.
Yeah, I get it.
Jennifer?
So the owner's asking for $68,137.74, is that correct? Yes, ma'am.
In the living room where.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I thought you was Miss Jennifer. Give me just a second, I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought you was Miss Jennifer talking.
No.
That's what I was in the same dialogue, okay.
She had a question.
Just because we've got newer board members, how many times has Mr. Hunter been here?
So we've had a couple of complaints. This set of hearings, these two complaints have run concurrent. Prior to that, there was a prior one that was dismissed. Mr. Hunter worked to make it right on that prior one. Just to remind the board, at our last hearing, Mr. Hunter was found in violation of several things. And the board took a rather strong stance in the disciplinary action, and also directed the building official to be monitoring whatever active permits are under the license, right? So that's, Mr. Hunter, at that time, told the board that he was not going to continue contracting. He was going to finish up these projects, and basically he was taking everything inactive. He's not going to be doing this anymore. I think he might even have mentioned that he was going to be working for someone else. So that's where it stands now.
And to interject really quickly on the numbers are different in both places, so I just want to have some clarification on that to make sure we're getting the correct number. While it is a small differential, it's still a differential. So on item 1, stated in the prior page, it's $63,003. Item 4, it's $7,546.56, which would bring it to $91,690.74, which would thereby bring the total to $68,240.74. So just to make that clarification, which numbers are correct?
There was a corrected page sent in. Apparently it didn't get posted with that because I corrected all that.
Right, I believe Mr. Hedenberg mentioned that he had a typo here. Item 1 was 68,003, but the typo here is 63,000 flat. So the difference there is $5,003. The other one as well, Ms.
Okay.
Luna noted.
So then this page here that you're showing is correct with the numbers?
That's the testimony that was provided by Mr. Hedenberg, is the actual complete write-out, not the summarization. The write-out was correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Hunter? Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Ms. Hedenberg, did you want to address the board again?
I did.
Can you come to the mic, please? Do they have to, have they can hear it?
So on the vinyl plank flooring that was installed in the living room and part into the kitchen, the original flooring that was in the kitchen was linoleum, so, and it has something else over it, but it was lower than the original flooring in the living room. So in order to build that up, he was gonna put plywood underneath to make it level. Well, after it was done, we told him that it had like a spongy feel when you walked from one room to the other. And he said that would resolve itself in a couple of months. We're gonna have to replace that flooring actually because it has not resolved itself. It's still spongy when you walk from one room to the other, and it actually has a small crack.
It's cracking. Where the walls were taken out, they put in plywood because the kitchen had linoleum originally, and then my mom put tile over it, so it had ceramic tile on top.
But it was still lower than what was in the
But
living
where
room.
the wall was, the 2x4, he replaced that with plywood. But when the guys put it in, they didn't fill it all the way to the gaps. In other words, they just cut a piece and set it in there, figuring that the flooring would level itself. But with LVP, it dishes, it's soft, it will go to weight. So if you put anything heavy on it, it goes through. I have a roll cart in there right now, and one of the wheels has cracked through the floor because of that space where the plywood is. Where you saw the beam run, that was where that one post is, that was where the fireplace was. When they built the house, they sloped it for some reason right there, it's dished. And the plywood that they put in was not thick enough. So when you walk across the floor, they didn't use enough glue either. When you walk across it, it flexes on you. So there's a lot of things about the flooring that's down that's gonna have to be repaired still, is what she's trying to make the point of.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Do we have a new number, Ms. Jennifer, that, based on item number 1, supposed to be 68, et cetera, et cetera? I know. I think the board feel, we want to come to a resolution, but we want to do what's right. Is that correct?
And then are we adding the 4,000 with the flooring?
I think the flooring's included, isn't it?
Right, but it's deducted from the total. So just from the testimony that was just given, is that something then we need to?
But they do have the ability to come back if they're thinking it needs to be replaced, but I don't think there's an absolute yet. So I think they do have the ability to come back,
And I read in the contract, it also said that it was gonna be laid over existing.
it did say that, so I don't know that we can.
Chairman, if I take the discrepancies from the first page to the second page and add them to what he was asking for, that total number is $73,240.74. I'm going by these two pages.
Right.
So that's the number that I have calculated.
That's adding the $5,000.
The $5,103 that were discrepancies between the two pages.
Excuse me a second. So that's the difference now would be 73,240.74.
That's correct.
Okay.
I
Mr.
see my only
Heidenberg.
math there is on item 1 that she pointed out. There's 5,000 short.
Correct.
That's what we just corrected.
It was $5,003 short, and then on item 4, it's $100 short.
We just corrected that to be 73,240.74.
Here you have 7546. Here you have 7446.
Okay.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We want to make sure it's right.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Discussion before we go? If not, we'll take a motion. The amount asked at this point is 73,240.74. Have a motion from anyone?
Personally speaking, I just don't think we have enough here for me to make a motion. Again, I feel comfortable with contractors coming in here and contradicting each other versus a non-contractor and a contractor, even though the contractor, clearly is defaulted. It's hard for me to determine that, it could be more than 68. It could be less than 68. But we don't have anybody professional, and they're having a hard time getting contractors to come. And so that kind of part concerns me also, that they don't have anybody that's gonna be able to go into it, but then how are you gonna finish the job? And number two, you did say you're gonna go to civil. If you go to civil, they're gonna require all this. They're just not gonna go to court and determine, based on, proper evidence being provided, whether they can put a judgment against the contractor, whoever that may be. So if that's the direction you're going, that's still going to be needed in the long run. And I just think it may be arbitrary for us to just say, okay, we're gonna go ahead and award $73,000 in damages. I would rather feel comfortable to, again, push this off to our next meeting, if the board is agreeing with me, till we get, maybe just try harder and get some contractor to come in and write up a bid. They don't necessarily have to do the work, but it's just a matter of getting them to put a bid together to look and see what the remaining scope of work is and what that cost is going to be.
Okay.
So I'll close with that.
If you want to do that, can you at least
You can't, Mr. Hedenberg, you can't just respond from the floor, sorry. So any other discussion? And we will allow you to speak again, but we have to maintain any other discussion from up here? Anybody's feelings? That the thoughts from others that we need some more info from another?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if we award them the 73, it's like a full refund of the entire project, and we can't do that either.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't know that I could say 80% of the contract amount is done, maybe 80% of the items that were listed, but that number one item is the big
Right.
ticket item, and so, it's 80% of the items versus 80% of the money.
Right.
But even at,
45% of it done.
150, half of that's 40-something, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So there's a discrepancy still.
I understand, but to me, it's almost semantics at this point of what is being said, because I understand with this contract, but the bulk of the money is in that one line item. So
Right.
at this point, at most, 45% of the work has been done, at most.
And I guess, let me ask legal this question. And our job here is to determine the damages that have been caused by the contractor, and not what it takes to finish the job. Because if they don't have a contract, and if there's not a supplement line item in that contract that states that if you default, you'll pay whatever supplement there is when I hire another contractor, we don't have that here. So it's kind of difficult to make that decision until we get a GC or somebody to come in there and provide us a competitive bid to say, here's what it's gonna cost to complete it. Then we can take the amount that's already been paid, and we have a little deduction in there that we can see, has he been overpaid? or, you know, I mean, again,
Correct. That's one of the fundamental aspects of contract law is putting the person in the place where they would be had the contract been fulfilled. And bridging that delta there and ascertaining those numbers would have to be proven.
right. And we can, as a board, at that time, determine whether or not to ask for more based on what the dollar value is to complete that job, because then, you know, due to delays or due to, like them saying, having a hard time finding a contractor, there may be a reason that's why they're charging a little higher, because they don't know what percentage of work, the percentage of work that's completed, and whether it's a default in there, or they'll find something wrong in there. So there may be a contingency in there that we can allow.
I could see that, yes.
And I will say historically, this board has awarded restitution for current issues. So say a subcontractor was not paid and the homeowner paid it. On previous cases, that has been the case, with the caveat that should you incur any further damages, please bring it back to the board. I know that it's hard to predict future damages, and I think that's what this request is asking for. But I know that historically, this board has done what I stated. You've looked at what you had, what has already been expended out of pocket by the complainant, and then included the caveat to come back should you incur anything further.
Thank you for going there, because I was thinking those same lines myself of the roofing that's been paid. According to this, is $12,546.56.
Yes, sir. Those two items, 3 and 4,
Would be
was the
12,000.
roof. And I said all that because I know that we do have some newer board members that maybe don't know the full history of what this board has done.
Right, right. So we know we've paid that, and then the Tibbetts lumber,
That's correct.
that was it more than just 1,113 that they've already paid? Or
From
is
the
that-
statement that's on here, I believe that's what he paid to Tibbetts Lumber.
So those are the two absolutes that has been out-of-pocket
Well,
money?
and then he also, items 6, 7, and 8, that's all of his demand letter mailings,
Right,
things
right,
like
right,
that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Mr. Heddenberg, I'd have to ask you again, please don't just approach please don't approach the stand until we ask, okay? Thank you. 1,111.39, right? That was the Tibbet lumber,
Yes, it's on your screen as
Right.
item 5. Mhm.
plus the 558, 1453, and 968. That's the out-of-pocket that we
What is-
have accounting for. Is that correct?
That was provided by Mr. Heddenberg,
Right,
yes.
right. That's what I just wanted to verify that.
What does that total come to?
That comes up to be a total of 13,687.74 if I have my math, if my calculator worked right.
Can we ask, is that number right?
Do what, sir?
Can we find out if that number is right?
Mr. Heddenberg? The board is asking if those numbers in items 3 through 8 are accurate numbers.
She was, the receipts for all those.
Right, yes,
Right, it's in the list here.
Copies of them to verify that is the amount?
yes,
Yes,
sir, it is part of this whole documentation. Mhm.
Yes. There was
It's been included in evidence today, yes, sir.
Just around. So, again, I'm gonna ask legal, so if we were to make a decision today, for restitution in the amount of the 13,000, and then ask them to come back if there are any more damages, you know, whether they bring the paperwork or another subcontractors, you know, backup document or another contractor, then we can relook at this on the dollar value?
I don't see why the board couldn't do that.
Okay.
They have the ability to make a decision now on some certain amount and then ask the person to come back with any other amounts that they can prove as those become available.
More evidence, yeah.
I'll ask the board if they feel comfortable with that. I mean, so we're not
13,000.
we're not prolonging it, and, you know, then it's up to them to bring back more evidence to us in order to do it.
And I think just stipulating that in the motion, right?
Yep. I'll make a motion for restitution in the amount of $13,687.74.
With-
And if there's any additional damages that they foresee or they come across, bring back evidence so they can show it to us and we can relook at it.
I'll
I'll
second it.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved for restitution of $13,687.74 with the ability for the owner to come back in the future with such evidence for it to be adjusted. All right.
That concludes our agenda items for today.
Thank you, everyone, for that short meeting. There are some snacks in the back if you didn't get any during the break time. Meeting's adjourned.